Welcome to the DevReady Podcast, where we're helping non-techs build better tech. Today, we're joined by Nathalie Taquet. She is from eBottli, which is a startup all around her passion, really, which is all around wine and the passion of bringing technology and wine together and helping wineries really digitize some of their processes. I'll let Nathalie share a bit about herself. Nathalie, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you very much to have me today. So, yes, I have a startup named eBottli, and we help wineries to digitalize their businesses, especially during their processes, to have less paper task, but to have the data that they can cross, compare, and be more efficient in their production.
Mm-hmm. In terms of I'd like to always know a little bit about how you got here, because we don't generally start up in a startup. We may have a different type of background. Just tell us a little bit about your background and then the story up to starting eBottli.
Yeah, sure. So I moved 3 years ago in Australia with my husband and my 3 children. So my background is in research. I worked 15 years in different public and private institutes, and the last one was Nestlé Skin Health. And my husband worked in IoT, especially for the traceability of luxury brands like Porsche or Ferrari. So we crossed our 2 skills to create eBottli to help for the traceability during the supply chain. It's why it's more passion behind to put in the foot of growers and winemakers, understand their pains, their challenges, and help them to move into the new innovation world with more IT staff.
That makes a lot of sense. So your husband is more technical, and then yourself more from a research sort of background. In terms of the business itself, can you dive in a little bit about what eBottli does? Obviously, from a digitization perspective, what IoT is a part of this. So what does that mean in a business like this, and what value does it deliver to your customers?
Yeah, so we propose different range like a QR code, but it's more depending on the profile of the winery. So it could be also NFC, RFID, or geo-trackers. So, for example, the QR code, it's at the beginning for the traceability of the beans, when you put the grapes inside the beans to be sure that you have all the information accessible in real time. But it could be some geo-trackers, for example, to geolocate in real time by satellite all your containers on the boat, for example, or your truck shipment. And we use RFID. It's more for the inventory because you can scan 10 meters around with a scanner, your barrels, for example, or your pallets or items. So it's where we can help them to just push them with new technologies, implement them, and simplify their journey. Yeah.
Okay, so it's more about just the traceability inside the winery and the supply chain.
Exactly. Yes. It's to connect all these actors in the supply chain that is disrupted, actually, to be more sustainable also, because there is a lot of waste because of this disconnection. So if you have access in real time to all this information, it's more powerful.
Now, blockchain, how does that come into this? Because I'm imagining there might be a little bit of this from a traceability perspective, and also understanding the location of the actual grapes and how that sort of comes through. Is that a part of this process?
Yes, because it's not only to acquire data, it's also to secure this data, because otherwise you can change this data, and if there is no secure place to store them, it's not enough reliable, and you can have after counterfeiting, for example. So if you put some blockchain, you can optimize that, and you can put also artificial intelligence to be sure that you compare the data together and help for the efficiency and to help for the production perspective, to do prediction, for example. Mm-hmm. So it's to implement the new tools accessible on the market and let them accessible for farmers, for producers, so people that don't know that they exist, and they can move to this new digitalization.
So that would be like an example is recording what barrel type and what grape variety is in a specific barrel and how long it's been. The barrel is the age of the barrel plus how long it's been aging for. So then no one can modify that, and then you produce a bad product potentially as well.
Exactly, because, for example, the barrel lifetime is 6 years in an average, but they don't know what they put before. And, for example, they reuse the barrel for spirits, but they don't know what happened before for this lifetime of barrels. And they can also compare the data if, for example, they have a batch of 5 barrels and they would like to know why it's better than last year or previous years. So they can understand better what happened in terms of chemistry also, to be, I think, more relevant for premium wines, for example.
Okay, yes, it just allows them more accountability as to what that product is, and it's no chance for it to have changed. Exactly. A normal system where someone can go in and modify the details potentially, and then it can throw your whole operation wrong. Okay. That's a good use case for that specifically.
Yeah. In terms of your passion about wine, tell us a bit about that. Obviously from France, moved to Australia recently. Where did the background and passion for wine come from? Because you moved from research into obviously wine, working at Nestlé's and food and different sort of areas. But love to understand that passion, because when we jump into business, it's important that we do have a passion and we're looking to solve problems that we see in an industry. How did that come about for you?
Yes, it's a good question. Yes, so I have family in Burgundy, and they produce a small batch of Chablis and Pinot Noir, and it's why it's a passion that in France I had from a long time ago. And when I moved to Sydney first, I did a WSET, like a sommelier diploma. And it's a real passion, and where I can bring some added value, because I understand the people I am in discussion. So because I can put in their feet and understand why they do in this way, how they proceed in terms of winemaking, each step of the supply chain. So yes, it comes definitely from my passion in the wine industry.
I know you mentioned offline that the wine industry in France is a bit more old-fashioned and traditional in the way they operate. And is that the reason you left France and brought to the Australian market? Is it because sort of those old organizations are stuck in their ways and don't really want to look at change or technology?
Exactly, yes. In France, it's very traditional and hierarchy. So when you would like to meet the good person to propose some innovative solution, it's a very long process, and you have to change the mind of people as an early adopter. When I came in Australia, I can see that it's easier. You can connect quickly to the good person, and you can try new ideas, see if there is a market and opportunity. Play with that, readjust your business, and especially, for example, with the China crisis, we can see that there is flexibility here. We can propose change your business model quickly. It's where I think it's a very good country to try ideas, to see how it works, and after to expand internationally in the second step.
Are you finding more adoption in the new, say, micro wineries, or in the more traditional established brands?
I can see that, yes, it's harder in the established brands. I think it's easier with small brands, and effectively 90% of wineries are small, so it's the majority. And it's good to help them, because they are open-minded, they are looking after some ideas for the future. So yes, I agree that it's easier with small brands, I think.
Yeah, they're probably more, they probably, as starting up a winery, probably the only thing you're thinking about is what variety of grapes you're going to use, how long you're going to age your barrels for, and it would keep them, rather than what's the inventory management platform going to be like, and how am I going to maintain these barrels over a longer period of time and understand what's in there and when I should bottle them.
And because they are new on the market, to use a mobile phone, it's something that is very easy to do. Rather than the big brands, I think they already have their proper software, like internal software with the IT staff. So even if you can bring some innovation, it's I think longer and more complicated.
Yeah,
it's always the way when you're looking at the corporate infrastructure. They generally have most of the things tied up. Doesn't mean they're doing everything perfectly, but they've got people covering all bases. But like you said, a lot of wineries across Australia are not quite large, and through the Yarra Valleys, and you'll find these little wineries everywhere. They're mostly the founders and the people running these places are passion people. They love wine, and that's generally where they sort of sit. And then when they get bigger, there might be investors in these, and etc. But I get the understanding of most of them are small, which is good for you, because if it's 90%, it's a market you can sort of tap into. Yeah.
Yes, if I can complete, it's also because, for example, I am in La French Tech Australia, where I am the president, to do this link between France and Australia, between startup, innovators, but also big companies, because I think it's interesting to propose to big brands some startup who are, I think, more dynamic and quickly in the innovation. So it's where we try to push startup to collaborate with big brands in new solutions. And they are looking more and more after startup to try new things, to do the proof of concept. So it's something that I am implicated too, because I believe that even if it's difficult to put in touch all this collaboration, I think there is also some good ideas to do.
Definitely, yeah. So in terms of the difficulty is more the decision-making, the education process. That's what I found in the corporate environment or the bigger environments. It's just a longer pattern. So one of the models that seems to be working for you is working with the smaller groups, building the technology, and then communicating that up to some of the bigger chains, because I've found startups in the past we've worked with that just want to go directly to corporate and sell to corporate, and they wonder why they haven't sold a product in 12 months or got any traction. It's because the corporate wants to see some traction or get some concept of how this is operating, and they're not able to show it. So there's a bit of learning about playing both camps. If you want to be in a corporate environment, you still need some smaller businesses to work with and trial some tech at the same time. Otherwise, things can be very slow to move.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. In terms of building this technology stack and how it all started, I'm imagining your husband drove a lot of this, but what's that experience been like? You mentioned a few times that you've actually worked with some of your customers to evolve the products and pivot even. You mentioned, not in that terms, but pivot where you were going and how you bring this together. What has that been like for you to experience the start of the business, where it stood, as to the evolution of it over the past 2.5 years?
Yeah, I think, yes, it's very important to do this proof of concept with real data, where you can develop the solution, optimize it, because the first solution is not the best one. So you need to connect between technology and the real world to be sure that it fits with the users. So it's why I think it was interesting to do this link, because my husband is more behind his computer, and I think sometimes it's good also to be in the real world with the real technical word they use, and not to be far away, because it's what I saw a lot. It's this disconnection between startup and ideas, and after when, for example, the owners of wineries use your software, sometimes for them it's not intuitive. There is no big button. For example, the majority have around 50 years old, so they need something very simple, and they are not very familiar with the IT stuff. So you need to simplify as much as possible. So it's when you test it in real life that you have, I think, good feedbacks, and you can understand better what are the real challenges in fact. Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know those challenges until you get into the hands of some users. And yes, even when you're designing with users, sometimes you don't really get that until you get that tangible interaction, because you can find that, yes, you might be engaging potential customers and helping them work with you to design the product and the solution, but until they physically start using it, it's very different. Once you get a physical device in the hands, okay, you got a mobile phone now. Let's start scanning QR codes, NFC. What does that mean? What does that mean to their day to day? So, and then how do you streamline that? So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly.
When you developed the concept as your like proof of concept, did you develop that and then approach your first customers, or were you working on that with your first customers to develop something that they needed?
So yes, we developed it for customer they needed because it was a pain point. Sorry, and it's where we had a lot of discussion to be sure that we were in the good direction and the answer to a real question rather than just to have another software on the market. It's where we try to connect other tools they already have to have only one interface and not to just go on where we would like to go, but without listening our customers, because otherwise it doesn't work. So, because you need also to know if people are ready to pay for your solution, because sometimes it solves a problem, but they don't want to pay for it. So it's also something that you need to be aware about.
Yeah, there has to be a problem worth solving for them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And something that you don't add another step in their journey that is complicated.
You want to be taking steps away, ideally, make things easier, not more complicated. So, that's really important to think about. So, in terms of the journey, where are you going? What's the vision for eBottli? What's the plan for long term? What do you imagine yourself being in 5 years' time?
Yes, so the idea, the vision is to do in the wine industry, but it could be applicable in the food industry and in the chemical product, because, for example, the traceability in chemical product is very important because you have some drugs that people manipulate with, so sometimes they disappear. So it's important to have traceability. So our vision is to do also with other products that need this traceability. Mm-hmm. And to do this link with France also, so to go to Europe, that is our goal.
So get over to Europe.
Would you try to take it back into the wine industry in France once it's established here and help them?
Exactly, because I have this bridge between the two countries, and yes, it could be very exciting to do. Yeah.
In terms of across the last couple of years, what's been some of the major challenges for you to build the product for the customers and actually make sure you stay on track? Because as a startup, we only got limited budgets generally. You may have got funding, I'm not quite sure. How did you approach that whole process, and then any sort of challenges that came across the journey?
I think the big challenge is to change your habits. And I am the first one when you have to change your habits, and it's not easy to do. So it's just to convince people that it will save time, even if they have 2 hours per day to manage everything. They don't want to change it. When you prove that it will be solved with 10 minutes rather than 2 hours, they have to. It's a long process there in their mind. They have to be sure that it's the good direction. So I think with this challenge, you need to do some demo, to come to them, and it's where for the moment we have a lot of time to see our customers, meet them in person, not by Zoom, and to go door by door, because we need this connection, like physical connection, to prove them that it will help them.
It's a bit of showcasing too, because you've got tangible interaction with NFC, the RFID tags, etc. So showing that is tangible. It's not just a piece of software, which is a SaaS software that they can demo online. And I think understanding that is important. It's an education piece. It's like anything new. If you're evolving the way people have done things in the past to something new, there's generally a lot of education that needs to be put into that as to why you're doing it, what the output is for them, what the saving is for them from a cost perspective, from a time perspective is probably more important for these smaller groups, because it's all about time in the end. But yeah, that education piece is always a stumbling block, especially if you're trying to do something really new and no one's really done anything like that before in their own world. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Very good. In terms of your husband, what's the team look like? Is it just him developing? Does he have a bit of a team behind him? What does the eBottli group look like?
So we love the collaborative way where we mix the skills with IT, with marketing, with accounting, and we like to come the morning and say, okay, the challenge of this day is that, and people can share ideas together and not to stay focused only with IT staff, because it's important that this connection exists where during, for example, at the end of the week, we have a sprint review and everybody can see what the other do. So I think it's good, rather than to stay only in your skills, you have a better understanding about the business, the strategy, you are implicated also in some brainstormings. So it's where we try to do as much as possible some interaction between the different teams, because I believe that there is added value for everybody.
That makes a lot of sense because I feel like when you're building a business, there's about 10, 15 of you, correct, in this business?
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone being on the same page is important. So, yes, you might have a lot of tech-heavy sort of team delivering the technology, but if they're not clear on where the business is going or the direction of the customer or the long-term future, then the product design and development could be lingering. So it's important to make sure everyone's on the same page. It's a good initiative that you've got where everyone gets involved in a bit of everything. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. If you want to market something in terms of marketing, you need to understand better the products and to interact with the IT people, understand their challenges also. Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. How have you gone about building your team? Has it just been the two of you started, I imagine, and yourself, your husband? Have you raised any capital for the business? How have you gone about that approach?
Yes, so we raised 2 times capitals, and we are looking after the next round. So we, for the moment, it's more talents. So, for example, we have interns and they have master degrees, for example, and we keep them after the internship, because, they have good skills. So we believe, with education, and, we also, bring them some, good, experience in terms of, for example, in the IT staff to bring some new, skills, good overview on different tools they can use. So we also have some recommendation from people. So we try to keep people on board as much as possible because it's more a long-term relationship. I think.
Makes a lot of sense. In terms of your capital raising, how did you find that process? And in Australia, some people might find it a little bit challenging with the smaller market in terms of where to raise and how to do that. How did you go about that process to share people and give people some context on what they might be able to do?
So the first one was with an accelerator program. I think it's a good starting point when you start because it will do the good connection with new investors, but also to prepare your pitch to optimize it. Because at the beginning, when you start, you are not. For me, I was not familiar with every area of the startup in terms of finance, marketing, HR. So I think the accelerator can bring you some good overview of and good skills to do that. So it's a good entry point also. And after the next round, it was more relationship. I think you need to after develop a good relationship. And I think in Australia, you are lucky with LinkedIn. It works very well. So you can find with LinkedIn good partnership, good investors, or good customers also. People answer to your message. So if you do something that is powerful in terms of your message, you can have good feedback or return of investment for that. So you need to nourish your relationship because nobody will do for you. So you need to be implicated as a founder in this process. And I think after it's more, I think it's more relationships. I think.
It seems like everything in business is relationships, and it's important that yes, if you are looking for investors, it's all about building relationships and maybe starting that early, even before you're ready for investment. It's just starting to build those relationships and just put your little flag out there and just tell people what you're up to and just get to know people in the industry, because yes, it's a small knit industry, but there are people out there, and I think LinkedIn's a good tip for people that are looking to build network, and don't think of it as just a business exercise, but an investment exercise, a partnership exercise. Everything can be done and found on LinkedIn if you're willing to spend quite a bit of time on there and dig in, get to know people, and be prepared to meet face to face. A lot of online stuff has been going on these days, and that's how we met. Obviously, to come on the DevReady podcast, just some communications through LinkedIn, and then we have a conversation around your product, your business, and where you're taking it. So there is plenty of opportunity if you're willing, and people are willing to share and communicate. There's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, yes, I agree. There is also some startup hub. For example, I am based in Stone and Shalk. You have also in Melbourne Stone and Shalk startup hub, and I think it's a good also entry point to connect to investors, to also develop your networking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, brilliant. In terms of Nathalie, this has been brilliant. If people want to find out more about eBottli and your products and your services, where can they find you?
Yes, we have our website. It's www.eBottli.com or eBottli.com.au. It's the same address. So more than welcome to have you. You can book like a meeting with me if you want, and you can send me an email. More than pleasure to connect.
No, thank you. Appreciate your time coming on the DevReady podcast, sharing your journey to date, and we'll check in a few years and see how everything's going, because it sounds like you're in a nice little pocket in terms of what you're doing, very niche, and it's something that I really enjoy when people are niched in an area. Some people can spread themselves too thin, being niche in a market. And would you say most of your customers are in Adelaide right now? Have you ventured out into other states, or is it just in Adelaide at the moment?
For the moment, we focus on South Australia, yes, sure, because we meet them physically, and with the COVID-19, it was not possible to travel. But we hope next year to maybe have the opportunity to travel again.
Yeah, no, we all do.
For sure. The borders opened up today, so hopefully that happens.
Thanks again. Thanks for coming on and sharing your journey to date. And we look forward to hearing from you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you,
Nathalie.
Nathalie.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you very much.